Hello and welcome to the All About Technology podcast. My name is Jeff Burel, and with me today I have CatchMark managing partner Brent Raeth.
What up?
And Jimmy TenBrink from Gun Lake Investments.
Is it Jimmy or is it James?
Ooh, let's just stick with Jimmy.
Jimmy, it's not that official?
Nope.
All right.
So welcome, guys. Today's episode, we're going to talk about tech consulting. And what I'm looking to let everybody know is just how CatchMark can help businesses that need some help in that space. Jimmy has been a guy that, well, the three of us have known each other for...
Long time.
Well,
too long.
35 years? Is that close enough, you think?
I just try not to think about it.
Jeez.
Too much.
Okay. Well, we'll move past that number, but...
I've been out of high school for 28, so that means you've been out for 29.
Yeah.
And I've known Jimmy, it might be closer to 40 years.
Jeez.
I thought this was a tech discussion, not a how old are we discussion.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. But
Well, the one thing we know is that you're both older than me.
I'm 29. So
Yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh, who gave him the
sound
board?
effects.
That is insane.
So yeah, we have known each other a long time. We at CatchMark have supported Jimmy with a couple different roles that he's been in. So I figured give him a chance, come in here and see if he could find some good things to say about CatchMark. And if we need to figure out a way to get Brent to chime in, I'm sure we can come up with something for him to talk about. But no, actually, I wanted to have you in here just because being the founder of CatchMark and steering a lot of what we've done in the tech space and over the years and how we're helping people out of that vision, I figured it'd be good to hear from you as well.
You know, funny story though, like even before CatchMark, I was helping Jimmy with tech stuff. So back when he had Earth Service and Supply, we helped him. It was just me. Didn't even have a company, just came over and helped him. And Brian supported him a little bit with that too, just trying to set him up from a tech perspective. How many years ago was that, Jimmy? Jeez.
gosh, that was, early teens, so 2010, 12.
How was it
13.
that long ago?
Yeah.
That's insane.
We were trying to do so much remote, and technology wasn't as accessible remote.
Yeah, no, definitely was not. Yeah, definitely was not. It was harder to support. So, yeah, so I helped him set everything up and, help with some problems. And I lived on the east side of the state, and it was a long ways to drive to come back and help. So
Anything for Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of how Brian got his start in tech. To be honest with you, he kind of owes it all to you, Jimmy. So like, yes, I knew he'd like that. So yeah, but
that is interesting. So let's start. Let's go back to your previous employer. You guys got to a point where you needed some tech, reached out to CatchMark. Kind of walk me through that. Because that was like right when I was joining CatchMark or just before. But obviously you and Brent had talked about that.
You missed out on the moving the furniture and the whole 9 yards. So
I was going to start and say it started in 2016 when we moved to offices and had to break off from. Originally, our tech stuff was kind of handled by a government entity. So the tribe's government group was handling all of our tech, which created some challenges as we tried to separate away from that, from security purposes, information, who had what, where it was going to go. The devices were all owned by the government and managed by the government, but we had to separate the business from that. So Brent and the guys showed up. Not only did they help us move into our new office, but they literally within, hours took us off of the line as, government operations and online as a business entity. And then we just continued along, right? It's things as simple as setting up, a Wi-Fi router to building out a full-blown cybersecurity program that was compliant with CMMC level 3. I mean, and everything in between.
Yeah, it was pretty funny that day when we were there to help him. Jimmy rolled. He drove a U-Haul, and he pulls in and he just rolls the back open and like, here we go. And we're like, we're here to set stuff up and like get it going. And Jimmy's like, well, it's got to get upstairs. And all these nerdy tech guys are looking at me like, let's carry some stuff upstairs. Let's help them out. sooner we help him out, the sooner we can get our stuff done and then go. But yeah,
We call that over delivery here
Yeah.
at CatchMark.
It was 2 flights of stairs, really.
oh, here we go.
And there was a lot of sweating going on for sure.
They had an elevator.
It was a tough goal.
We got everything in the elevator we could. So
That stairway was narrow too.
what does that mean?
Just saying, lifting all that furniture up, bringing it up the stairs, and you couldn't use the elevator because it was tiny. So
Yeah. It worked though. I mean, we got everything up there. We got everything set up.
Yeah.
We did an office build out that you guys helped
Yep.
with. We, moved TVs, put in AV stuff. We've done security. I mean, I don't think there's an area of CatchMark that
You guys didn't utilize. Yeah.
outside of the media stuff now, but we have done website development.
Yeah, we have.
you gave us a great idea for the black whiteboards that we have in our office in Grand Rapids too. You had that one in your office, and I fell in love with it. So they're all over our
Yeah.
office.
They look beautiful. They're nice to write on. Erasing them, not so good.
Yeah, the black ones didn't work as good as the clear ones.
Yeah, they're a pain to erase. And like if you leave it on there overnight, it's like concrete trying to take it off there. But yeah.
Yep.
So Jimmy, I mean, like one of the things, one of our very first conversations was kind of try to how to help you split out, which is like the consulting piece. I mean, what are some of the things that, I guess that you enjoyed the most about, like, what are the things you relied on us the most for, I guess, or the things that you're like, okay, I got to talk to those guys.
Well, I probably should start with like the idea of splitting things out. If you think about a business today, right, we have business owners that are in a variety of different stages, and
Right.
you guys have customers all over the place.
Yeah, we do.
Not all of them use every CatchMark service, but if you think about what we had to do with splitting, then kind of splitting again and kind of restructuring how things looked as we grew and developed as an organization, as new opportunities came on board, the government compliance side of things,
Yeah.
right? All of a sudden an opportunity happens there. We had to have somebody we could rely on. So I think as you talk about those variety of different services, every business goes through different phases of their growth and development.
Yeah.
And today's business, I mean, I literally saw a proposal today for $36,000 of investing into ChatGPT. One of our subsidiaries wants to start using ChatGPT to improve their hiring process, and they were looking for an investment of $36,000, out of their cash flows to be able to do that, and approval from us to make that happen.
Yeah.
And so you think about where technology is going. I mean, things like AI change this space, but at the end of the day, there's also data that's got to be protected.
Yeah.
We're all seeing, people going after things. I mean, it's gotten to the level of trying to get you to switch, your payroll bank information. I mean, that detailed and granular. It's no longer going after large things. So you have all of these different nuances that businesses are being hit with that need to happen. So for me, it was great. As our organization grew, we didn't need to have a director of IT.
Yeah.
I had Jeff, and Jeff served in that function. In my role in operations, I called Jeff. We walk through this. Then he has a team of experts in the various areas of
What we need to do.
information technology that we need to do, right? Jeff's not going to design my website for me, but he has someone on his team. But he can facilitate, make sure my website's being designed properly. He communicates
with me
with
being colorblind, that probably wouldn't end well.
Probably not. And you're not very artistic either.
No,
but,
that's true.
He's just laying it all out there. So it's funny you mentioned about like tech being in everything and growing because, we do a lot of stuff with Sportsnet. We had some of the girls basketball players in here, and I was just talking to them in the conference room one day just while they're waiting. And I was asking them what they're all going into, and none of them said tech, which I'm kind of disappointed in. I'd like to see more women in tech. I think they bring a really good perspective to it, and it's a really good thing. But they're all saying, I want to be a PA, or I want to be this, or I want to do that. And I said, no tech. And they're all like, no tech. And I said, do you realize that everything you just said, it's ingrained in it? You can't, that's how business is done nowadays. And so you can't say, I don't want to be in tech, because you are. If you're a doctor, you're in tech. If you're a financial person, you're using an application to manage finances, right? Like, and you're relying on tech to get that done. So it's kind of almost like a utility where, like, I don't want to be in power. Well, power drives everything, right? Like, you can't have a building without electricity. Same things kind of thing. So,
And that's a challenge we face a lot when talking to customers is oh, well, I don't want to pay that much for tech, or we don't need tech support, or we don't leverage tech. You do. And it's such a key piece. Like if your internet connection goes down, how much work are you really going to get done today?
Yeah. And one of the things that I would credit you, Jimmy, you were ahead of it a little bit, and you were a little bit more like, yeah, we definitely need this now, which made it a little bit easier, to build out. But like you said, Jeff, a lot of, you realized you were going to be successful by doing those things. And but that is a frustrating piece, I would say, a lot. Mm-hmm. Like having to try to convince somebody. Like Karen and I were talking the other day, like people have no problem paying an HVAC person or a roofing person $400 to come on site and fix their heater or their plumbing or whatever. But like the computer that makes them all their stuff work, it's like this sacred cow that should just be done for free. It's a little weird. I'm not trying to be bitter. I just mean it is a little weird,
Yeah.
But I think as business owners, every business owner has an entrepreneurial spirit, right? That's why they're in business. Yep. But that also means you're forward looking. You're looking out at what's coming at you and how do you grow and adapt your business. So if I make widgets for somebody, I need to know what technology is changing how widgets are being made.
And how can I do that quicker, faster, cheaper, right?
Right. Yeah. But that doesn't mean tech doesn't touch all of those things. It definitely has an impact. We spent a lot of time with one of our subsidiaries just recently putting in, digital training. And so having training done so that the people can get their training done remotely before they even come on site to start their job. Yeah. And so that's speeding up the learning curve, getting people up to speed a little bit faster, allowing our team to be more efficient with, okay, what part of the training did you not understand or did you not gain? Now we start to address and adapt to that. But all of that comes through tech.
Yeah.
I think this, recently I've been doing a lot of studying on this remote workforce and we've talked about a little bit with our teams. You now have this situation where everybody's expecting to be remote and to stay remote for some amount of time.
Jeff just left.
He just gets up and wanders around.
He's just gone.
Sweating or
welcome back, Jeff.
Sorry, there's a little heater in here that's throwing out fire that I'm sweating.
Sibes turned that on to 904 yesterday because he's always cold.
Passed out by the end of this episode. So
I would agree with you. I was talking to actually Amy Van Loon and I met yesterday from the White Lake Chamber. We're getting ready with the chamber board to do some strat planning and some stuff like that. And we were talking tech and talking about how we do things and some of that stuff. And I look at tech, a lot of the ways that I use it the most is time hacking. It's how do I save time? Because the one thing that I can't create and I can't get back is time. So if, and people might look down on me for this, but if I can order a vast majority of my groceries on Amazon and have it show up at my door and it costs me $5 more, I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. Right? If I can order a pizza in 3 seconds rather than picking up the phone and taking 5 minutes, I'm doing it. If I don't have to go to Walmart to get my groceries, I can just show up and they put them in the back because I pre-ordered on the app. I'm doing it, trying to get time back and looking at that. I think the hard part for us sometimes is like getting people to look at it from a value perspective. Like, this thing's going to cost $10,000, but it's going to save you $1 million in the next 3-4 years, the kind of thing.
Is this where we segue into the Brent's theory on yard sales? Or should that be a different episode?
Should be a different episode. That should be a whole episode.
You ever heard that? That story?
Oh,
we're not going to go there.
You're going to get me in trouble, Jeff. So I don't know if my sisters and my mom listen to this, but if they do, I'm going to be in big trouble.
Yeah, my guess is they don't. They're not listening.
You never know.
I'm the host, though. Like if Brent was a host, they're not going to tune in to listen to him. Like they hear enough of that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, Jeff and Jimmy, I'm going to tune in.
They would. They like you, Jimmy.
But I think you make a good point, Brent, about people when their furnace goes out, their employees are going to complain. Well, they're going to complain when they can't get on their Zoom call or their Teams meeting as well. And now you're starting to lose efficiency.
A big time.
Somebody staring at the wall is money lost. And it's easy for businesses to say, oh, I need a new truck or I need this because those things.
Yeah.
But their tech is probably more crucial to what they're doing than anything.
Yeah.
You got to get your invoices out. You've got to run your system. You've got to have your website up if you want people to find you.
Yeah.
We talked. So that was one of the projects we worked on with you guys is around where you're saving your data. Like you guys had like 5 or 6 different applications. Like, oh, well, this data is in Box and this is in Teams and this is in SharePoint and this is in Dropbox.
Right.
that's all efficiency there. Like if you got to stop and think, even if it's a couple seconds, okay, where does this data exist? Which of these 5 applications? All those seconds add up times employees, times days, times years.
Yeah. I mean, a simple view of that is, like one of our employees, we just talked about, I want them to learn how to type better. And like, why do I need to type better? Well, because 90% of what we do is on a keyboard. Mm-hmm. And if you know how to type and you can type 50 words a minute rather than 10, you're 5 times faster at every single email you do. Start multiplying that times the whole year and you get back hours, thousands of hours of your life over the time you're here. So those little things, keyboard shortcuts, but those bigger tech things are just a bigger example of the same kind of concept. So yeah, that's interesting.
One of our businesses today does janitorial work. So they do a lot of school systems. And we were having this discussion this morning talking about strategy, and the president of that company made, a kind of an interesting statement. He said, everybody wants to know we've been there, but they don't want to know we're there. They don't want to worry about it. And I think that's the case with tech. Like,
yeah, that is true. That's a good way to put it.
If you want to have something that's operating behind the scenes, find a group that helps you operate behind the scenes. So you don't have to have downtime and breakdowns and issues and things like that. What do we manage today's system with? An hour meeting once a month where we talk about, what's going on, where things are at, where our tickets are, if there are issues and things. But in his case, everybody wants to know the buildings and the restrooms are clean. Yeah. But they don't want to know that he's there. They don't want to hear anything. And if there is an issue, boy, it's all over the place, right? Like, hey, you guys missed this spot over here. It's a big issue. But he's trying to make it easy for the businesses and the people that he takes care of. And that's what I've always liked about this group. I hate to say nice things too often here, but I got to keep you guys on your toes. But it's true. I don't want to have to worry about that. I have other problems and issues that I do have to worry about that I can't eliminate. So I try to find ways to mitigate risk and to keep those, as small as they possibly can. So I don't have to deal with those. It allows me to be more flexible that when a fire does pop up, I can drop in and go. Yeah. And go deal with the fire.
You got 99 problems, but your tech ain't one.
That's untrue.
That should be I think one of the things, one of the reasons that that's successful with working with you though is there is a baked in level of trust. And when people ask me like, hey, what's the first and most important thing with tech? And I will always say trust. Mm-hmm. Because as a tech person, most people don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like they don't. I could tell you this widget and that widget, and I could make it sound really like it was super important. Building that trust and trusting the group that you work with is so important. And it will save you money in the long run, right? Like for an example might be if you tell us, hey, we want to do this thing and we look at it and we know we're going to make money helping you get it done. But if we know it's not right for your business, we're going to tell you that. And I think that's one of the reasons this relationship has worked good is because there is trust, right? The other thing that you mentioned is just knowing that it's happening in the background. That's one thing that like, as a tech company, we deal with a lot. Like, so we'll get a company where they're like, you're never on site. We never see you. What are we paying you for?
Right.
Well, exactly what you just said, where you're paying to never see us and never have to see us because it's just being taken care of. But then when you are on site too much, it's like, well, I'm paying you to keep these things running. Why aren't you doing it? And I'm sure you've talked about that in other podcasts too, but like, it's a weird spot to be in with tech. And our preferred method would be exactly what you said. You trust us. We take care of it. And most of the time we don't see you unless you're coming in to do a podcast or we're going out to breakfast or lunch or having a status meeting with Jeff, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. So obviously our relationship going back to school, the trust was already there when we started working with you, but
or not there.
Well, yeah. So you work with many other vendors, many of which you probably have never worked with before, don't have that trust established. What are some of the keys to building that trust? Because we struggle with that, getting some of our customers to trust us. And like we're genuine. We tell them we're honest. We're going to do everything we can, but it's almost like we're trying to convince them. Like, how do you
It's words at that point, but trust is earned, right? It's not just given. Nobody
Yeah.
gives away trust. You earn that. You earn it with your families. You earn it with your teammates. Whatever you're doing, it's an earned situation. So you have to get those little wins, right? And yeah, maybe we jumped over a few of those wins pretty quick because of our past.
Yeah. Yep.
But you guys gain trust with the rest of my team. I don't tell them you have to trust them. They might give you a little bit of a break because we've worked together in the past, and I've said they'll get us through this. They'll figure this out. But you have gained that with our team by responding, by communicating, by giving them the answers and telling them the things they don't want to hear. Like, hey, this is probably the problem. I'm sorry, but it's going to cost you this. Well, you've identified the problem, and then we get to determine if the cost is worth it or not.
Yeah.
But those little wins, right? It could be, a simple issue with, a login or a software update, or it could be something more major, like, hey, we had a security breach and somebody opened a malicious email, or it could be we have a website problem where our website went down. No one knows why. You guys jump on it, you take care of it, you fix it, and we just continue to go forward. And I think that's where it's hard to explain that to somebody in a face-to-face meeting, like, hey, when you need that, we're here, because everybody's going to say they're going to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
But you guys actually have done it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think the other part that we do a good job about is on the honesty side, and in a few different ways. So one is like if it's our fault that something broke, we're going to tell you we broke this. Here's what happened, and then
Take care of it
for you. I also think the way that we handle our project bidding and quoting and billing, right?
Which bites us sometimes. It really does.
We've had a lot of conversations. We're like, well, what do you mean? Jimmy approved 40 hours. We only spent 20. We should bill Jimmy for 40 hours. No, we bill for the time that it actually took.
Yeah.
And some people think we're leaving money on the table, but
I think it builds trust.
that's exactly what it.
It goes back to how we were all raised, though. I mean, if you think about your moral fiber,
Right.
those kind of things, and that's where I think it's great to know that you guys take that approach. That's that feel that it's ingrained in your culture here. You can get it from everybody. It's not just the two of you sitting in this room with me today. It's everybody that's sitting out in CatchMark Technologies or working down in Grand Rapids in that office.
Yeah.
That culture's through everything, and it's what makes you successful. We talked about it the last time we met, more socially about that. Like, culture matters and your people matter.
Did you just say two nice things about it? Are you drunk?
No, I was talking about the other people. That
Okay, all right. I was just making sure. So,
but I think you start that with single shingle Brent that helped me. When he was working for a contractor over in Detroit, getting Brian to come into my, Brian, I need somebody that's closer to Grand Rapids, so I need you to get in there and help me figure this thing out. And then Brian suddenly gets into tech, but ultimately.
Then he moves to the east side of the state.
And I had no one for tech. But ultimately, like, your approach from the very beginning has been that way since you've started this business and you've kind of built it out that direction. And I've been, blessed to sit on the sidelines and kind of watch you go through that. But I see that with the people. There is that genuine care. I go to a basketball game and I can talk to Billy.
Yeah.
Billy knows who I am. We have these conversations.
Yeah.
I know if I call Grand Rapids or I swing by, I can find Curtis and I can talk to him about those things. And it's ingrained through what you do here. And for a business owner, especially smaller businesses, right? Maybe you get to a $50 or $100 million company. They don't care, right? They're going to have their internal team anyway. But for a smaller business, they want to know that somebody actually cares about what they're doing. You're not just in providing a service. You care about the service you're providing.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. It's not easy, right?
No, I would agree with that.
We put a lot of time and effort into that culture and stand by it. And Brent and I have had several discussions about at what point do we want to stop growing? So we don't lose. We don't want our culture to change, and we don't know what that magic number is. But at some point, we might be as big as we can get, because the bigger you get, the more difficult that's going to be to do. Yeah.
That culture comes with a cost. If you're just a business owner looking to maximize your dollar, you're probably not going to put some of the things you guys have put forward so high up on the totem pole. Maybe it's flipping over a dune buggy up in Silver Lake on a T-building exercise. I didn't say getting stuck.
You weren't supposed to say anything about that.
I didn't say getting stuck in a dune buggy, by the way. But you think about compensation, benefits, the things that you do, that shows your employees that you care. In exchange, you're asking them to care about it. You have lots of team meetings that talk about what's really important to you. You're very clear with your vision and what you want to do. That, to me, then translates into what I see on my business every day. Now, does everybody on my team see those things? Nope, they don't. They don't know all that background, but they know the quality of service that we get.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, that's true. And as long as Lindsay knows, that's what really matters. So.
That's true. She approves the invoices for
Yep,
you. So.
that's right.
That's funny.
So I guess my next question, Jimmy, is as you continue to grow and need technology to help, how confident do you feel in that it benefits the company? I'll get there. Just give me 10 more minutes. Let me start over.
Today, Junior.
You're just rambling on like Brent does over there.
Yeah, I know what I'm trying to say. How important is it to you to have a good tech partner because with what you're doing, and we haven't really talked a lot about your current role. So, I mean, if you want to talk a little bit about what your business does, but how important is it to you to know that, hey, if something fast happens, you can turn to CatchMark and we're going to be there and we're going to give you those answers?
It's absolutely critical. So I'm the COO of Gun Lake Investments. We're a family office style private equity firm. We just have about, close to 600 family members as they are members of the Gun Lake tribe. And it is our job to represent them. And I just really was putting together a presentation for our team to have discussion about tomorrow as we're having some team building and doing some strategy discussions as a team tomorrow. Yeah. There are two ways that we build value for our stakeholders above, right, which would be the members of the tribe. We invest their money, and then we make that investment worth more at the end of the day. It has to be more. So there's an investing component, and then there's an operations strategy component, right? How do we grow that thing? I'm on the operations side. My job is to make sure that whatever we invest in gains value, doesn't lose value. And that's going to come in a variety of different things. So we have a company down in Dallas, Texas. They recently had a fraudulent thing happen. My first thought was, how fast can I get CatchMark down there to assess this situation and figure out how to, assess why their system failed? What controls did they not have in place? What did they do differently? Yep. Because as COO, I don't have time to learn every single thing about information technology. I have you.
Yeah.
And that's what I lean on. And for all of our businesses, we kind of push decision-making out to them, right? It's their budgets, and we can encourage them to do some things. But we also have to look at every investment today, over the next 5 years, over the next 25 years, and how we're going to manage those. Tech's going to be a huge component of that, right? We have what is the future of logistics? Self-driving trucks?
Yeah.
Maybe. That sounds
likely
really techie to me.
Yeah.
And how our companies manage those, how we communicate that information, how we bring information back, from a financial situation. How do we communicate our strategies? What opportunities are there for us to take advantage of in the marketplace as entrepreneurs? They all touch tech in one way, shape, or form. And so we have to be there. We have to be constantly looking for ways to maximize that. And that's why I see like the different, departments. I'm not sure what you call them here, with your web team and your media team and the tech support team that we deal with, right? Yep. Cyber. There's a lot of flexibility here that I know that there are people who are experts, but yet I still get that face-to-face soft, service level that I was expecting. And as we continue to grow, that's going to continue to be a need for us.
We are going to be in debt to this guy forever with all these kind words, aren't we?
Yeah, it's so true.
We need to put headphones on him and mics every time we talk to him.
Right.
Probably not every time you talk to me. That's
every
really
time.
Good, but
so I know one of the areas. Oh, sorry. Are you good?
No, I was just going to say it's because you've gained my trust.
Right.
Like I said, we were friends, but that doesn't mean that I knew you could do tech the way that I needed it.
Yeah, that's true.
When I needed somebody to do that, you said I can or I cannot, and there were some times where you said we don't really have that skill. Now you do, but at the time maybe it wasn't there.
Yeah, or we can. But here are some of the hurdles that there are. Here's the risk. Here's what might happen if we do this. And, we've talked often about this too, is just being honest with a customer. I think that builds trust. But then if you decide hey, I want to do this thing, Jimmy, I don't know that's the right thing to do. This is what we're going to do. Okay, let us get on it and go forward with it. And we're going to do it as the best we can to try to help you to avoid that. But, I think going back and forth and the honesty and trust is, I think, extremely important. So
I think you bring up a good point, Brent, that like what I'm hearing you talk about is the learning part of things. Like you guys have taught me the questions I should be asking, what we should be doing, and taught my team in various different phases on why we do the things that we do and why they're important. That then allows us to continue to grow as an organization. And the next time it continues to grow as an organization, then we grow again, And so those kind of things help our organization get stronger because we're now thinking about them like, oh, we need to incorporate, a tech component into our due diligence when we're assessing a company. Because
yes, absolutely.
We've bought businesses that we walked in and went, wow.
Hadn't made a capital investment in tech for 10 years. Yeah.
It's a complete nightmare. Now, all of a sudden, we thought we could get away with the same CapEx that we were putting in before. But as a business owner, I need somebody who's flexible. If I'm a single person that owns a company and maybe I do 10 million in revenue, I still need to be flexible and understand what I don't know. And so each level is going to kind of create different things.
You went right into what my question was. Nicely done. Brent, talk a little bit about the assessment. So like in the situation Jimmy talked about where they're looking at buying a company, how we were able to help
Yeah.
them.
So I'm actually going to turn it around and like talk a little bit. I'll get there. So I guess I'm warning you, I'm going to talk a lot, but you guys already know that. If you look at managed service providers, so we've had a couple offers for our business, right? From other companies that do what we do, but they're bigger than us. And what those companies are looking at when they look to buy us, the things that drive our value is how many fixed cost customers, contracted customers do we have? And, how long are those contracts? I mean, that's one of the number one things, because those companies assume that the way they do business with technology, that they can, and then of course they want to know what our net income percentage, how much money we're making on those customers. But they assume if we're at 15% net income, that with their process and their technology, they can push us to 30%. So the thing that they're really buying is the customer base, right? Mm-hmm. Which on the flip side for Jimmy, like when they go to invest in a company, the opposite can actually occur in that you go in to buy, let's say, a manufacturing company, and the company might be making money every year. They might be making, 10, 15, 20%. But you get in there and you find out that this company has not invested in technology in 15 years. And now you are like, holy cow, I know I can use technology to be more efficient. So I'm kind of happy because, well, if they're making 15 doing it the old way, I can probably make 30 doing it the new way. But you may have analyzed that purchase where I don't have to spend $1 million right off the bat to get to that. And that's really what the assessments are about. Really, when they go to look at something like that, using our knowledge to ask the right questions to say, okay, are they doing this? Are they doing that? Are they doing this? You can ask a simple question like, do they have a file share? Yes. The answer can be yes. Jimmy's like, oh, they got a file share. They're sharing files on a network. Do you have a network? Yes. Those answers can all be yes. And Jimmy's like, they got a network, they got a file share. This looks like, well, what they didn't tell you is that the file share is Windows Server 2000, 23 years old.
Right.
And that their network is all switches from when we were in high school, right? Like that's not going to cut it. So the answers could be yes, but those secondary questions to know, okay, this equipment is antiquated, the 5-year life cycle, you're probably going to look at, you got 3 years worth of life left in these pieces of equipment and these applications. Oh, by the way, this company has all these applications. They're not paying the maintenance on it and they're not supported. So you're going to have this X amount of licensing costs. So that's what we're doing for him. We're going in and we're looking and we're trying to give him an idea of what he's actually getting into before he locks in a purchase price, because then he can consider that in his purchase price. And I think that's really valuable personally, and I think Jimmy did too. And that's kind of what we were looking at. I will tell you, not many companies do that though, and they get into trouble. So what are you chuckling about over there?
Well, you do talk a lot. So I was chuckling about that. But I'm actually smiling because it's so perfect. Due diligence and assessments are about risk assessment, right?
Yep.
You're trying to understand where your challenges are. I can walk in this building and go, wow, this is a really nice building, and it has a roof on it. That doesn't mean I don't need to inspect the roof to make sure that it's not going to fail.
Yeah.
And so everything that you do is about mitigating or understanding what your risk is so you can understand what you're taking on. So it doesn't, I mean, it definitely comes up in M&A, right? So as we're looking to make an acquisition, we have to understand as much risk as we can. It's like test driving a car, right? You can take it around the block, but you really don't know all the squeaks until you actually drive it home. Yeah. So you're trying to figure out all the little issues that you could have in that car before you get to that point and understand what those risks are. And anybody that's not looking at tech as part of that process is insane to me. Yeah. Because you have people. So you're going to go through HR policies. You're going to go through worker comp claims. You're going to go through the people side of it. You clearly go through the financial side to make sure there's no skeletons in the closet. Somebody's not been embezzling for years. Yeah. You look at the legal side to make sure that people don't have lawsuits filed against them or, are involved with a Ponzi scheme. Yeah. Why on earth, when you look at tech, that's just as important part and aspect of your business, no matter the business. Yeah.
So, but in your experience, Jimmy, if you hadn't been involved in some of those things, would that have happened without looking at tech?
I think tech gets overlooked. I mean, know it gets swept under the rug, right? It's a cost center for a lot of people in their mind, but it really isn't.
It's a value.
They got to change how their thinking is. It's the old school way of thinking about things. But, people used to be a cost center. Well, if I can pay them less and give them less benefits, I make more money. Sure you can, until today shows up where you can't hire enough people. You're fighting for McDonald's at $22 an hour right now. Yeah. Very different situation. Yeah. So business owners, entrepreneurs are adapting every single day. But tech, it's not like tech is new. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah, that's what always surprises me though, because I do feel like that a lot of people don't even think about that. I can't tell you how many customers we've had that have either bought a business or went into business and they never thought about tech or renovating. I can't tell you how many customers we've had that have renovated spaces and then they're like, oh, we need tech. Oh yeah, it would have been great to be in here before you drywalled and caulked and painted, because now we have to run cable through a wall rather than just on, so I feel like I do see that a lot. I think there is some shift and some changing going on, but I do think you're a little more forward leaning than a lot of people would be. But still super important to think about, I think. Wouldn't you agree, Jeff?
Yeah, I think so. The thing I'd like to add though is with those assessments is it's more than just looking at hardware.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because that's kind of what you focused on.
Yeah,
but those assessments.
Yeah.
We're looking at how they do things, what policies are in place.
Right.
How many people know the information? Like how's the environment documented? Oh, well, it's just in Tom's head. He's been our IT guy for 15 years. So one guy knows everything that there is. That's not good, right? So we point things like that out.
Yeah, we do. Yep.
I don't think it really, it matters, but just because a assessment comes back and it may be, hey, Jimmy, this company's in a pretty bad spot. We've identified that. That doesn't mean we can't assist you in getting there if you move forward. That's one thing I wanted to touch on. So
it just means that Jimmy's going to adjust his price and figure out a different way to do that. You could still invest and make money. It's just he drops the bid price by whatever he thinks the investment might be to do all that, and then uses that money basically to pay us to help get him where he needs to be. So yeah.
You're exactly right, Brent. If you think about it, when we get done with the acquisition, then there's this transition period, right? We have to, bring that business online with our system, our processes, which is also sometimes might include that reinvestment. The building might need a new roof. Well, it also might need new hardware in the IT. And so we start picking away at that, bites at the apple, right? We're not going to do new roof, new siding, new floors and the whole thing in one shot. But what we've been able to do with your assessment is start saying, okay, where's the real problems? Let's start with the big major issues. Like these things have to get fixed. And then we just start picking away at the other stuff. So we're not necessarily killing the cash flow of the business, nor are we as an investor having to, dump a ridiculous amount back in. But I think it's really odd to me that this conversation is still going on after what we just experienced with the pandemic. If people didn't figure out where tech played in their life, the pandemic surely changed everybody's outlook.
I'd love to tell you.
You're not wrong, but there's still
It's still there, Jimmy.
like, hey, customer X, we're going to need to increase your monthly support cost by $100 this year. That's just
Unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
But
I can't understand it.
But if you look at like so many different businesses, right? There are certain businesses, right? If I'm in a grocery store, people have to come to the grocery store.
Right.
But
Healthcare.
So
food.
people distance. They tried to separate themselves. They had to find new ways to work. And so you have engineers that are working from home that used to work in an office all day long. Or you have, my wife's an insurance agent. She found out she could absolutely work 100% from home. Why they still have an office? I'm not sure, because people have kind of returned to start going in, but the amount of foot traffic into her office is significantly less because people realize they didn't have to walk in to pay their bill.
It goes back to Brent's statement about ordering a pizza or the groceries.
It's
right?
time hacking.
By the time I get in my car and drive and park and walk in and talk to somebody, I mean, if I can do all of that through an app on my phone in 5 minutes, I've just got hour back.
Which is good and bad, right? We talk about it as managers, like, okay, now we have to manage differently because of this situation.
Yeah,
right? I can't put my eyes on somebody sitting in an office. But the kids coming out of school today, I mean, I judged a competition a couple weekends ago for kids that want to get into private equity. And I sat down at a lunch table and had a conversation. The first kid told me how awful his internship was the year before because he did it completely remote. He had no interaction. He didn't feel like he learned anything. All he did was build spreadsheets all day. Well, that's his internship. So he went looking for a second internship to get out, to get experience, to meet people, and to do some things. But that aspect of things doesn't change. And so connectivity, access to the schools had to figure out how to bring Wi-Fi to these further areas of their districts, right? To keep kids engaged and get them, on there. All of that is tech. That's technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would say that, I have a philosophy on, tech doesn't fix a bad organization and it doesn't create a good organization. And so the idea there is that, if you struggle, in that internship perspective, if that business struggles giving him a good experience online, they're probably going to give him a bad experience in person as well. Mm-hmm. It might be a little better for him just because he can prod and ask questions, but tech's just a tool. It's just a tool to get a job done. How you use it is really on you, I think. And that's kind of one of the, the important things. I always was embarrassed when 2020 happened and everybody got locked down because we had a banner year that year. And it's because everything we'd been telling everybody that they needed to do, we better do it. And they all wanted to do it right now.
Including Jimmy.
Yeah, that is true.
My whole team
had to adapt, right? Because we didn't think our entire team was going to have to go home and figure out
how to do work from home.
Well, I still have to keep the lights on, and the government told us we had to keep doing stuff for them. So we had to oh boy, now we have to do this.
Hey, my whole team has to work from home, and they all have desktops. So I need you to find me laptops that can run engineering applications remotely and them access the data remotely.
Yeah,
and it still has to be secure. And
I need it tomorrow.
Yeah,
right.
What a fun problem to have. I mean, I think we figured it out and we did it. But I agree with you. People should know now. But it's still weird, man. I'm telling you. Mm-hmm. And again, this isn't a woe is me. I'm tech. There's plenty of wonderful things about working for tech. I wouldn't change my career field for anything. But there's still some weirdness out there, and there's just the people who think they can do it different and better, and whatnot. And some can. There are some people who can handle this themselves. I would say, as a business owner, why would I want to be the service director of all the services if I have capable people? I'm obviously not doing something else I need to be doing if I'm doing Jeff's job or I'm doing, Brian's job or somebody else's job, right? Like they're separate and scale, so. But
I think a portion of it limits you.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're not willing to embrace new ideas and new thinking, you're going to just stay exactly the same. If you're not thinking like, did I think AI and Chat GPT was going to be something I was talking about today, I had to figure out, I had to look it up. I had to Google.
Do you use
what
it?
is this stuff? I haven't used it yet.
It's absolutely phenomenal. It's scary. It's scary amazing, Jimmy. Like I think the first thing I searched for, I'm just like, I'm going to give this thing a challenge. I typed in, write me a sermon on Psalm 3, and it wrote a 2-page sermon on Psalm 3. If you went to church, like you could pretty much read it and it was a sermon. Like somebody had, it's insane. Like I was doing some research for strat planning for the chamber, and like I had some questions. I had some good goals, but I needed an objective and a performance measure. I typed in, this is my goal. Can you provide me a objective and performance measure? And it listed out like 10, and they were all good. And I'm like, where was this 20 years ago? This could have saved so much time. You know what I mean? It's nuts.
I sent a message across Teams the other day to our group, and I said, well, I'm so glad that we're embracing ChatGPT. My next question is, ChatGPT, can you help me write a resume for a washed up COO? Because it literally, like, there's so many unknowns about what that's going to do and how that's going to change the next scope of business, right? We're talking about, manufacturing went from people to robotics, right? And so the big three kind of drove a lot of that move. And then it's kind of moved into like, everything just kind of morphs and changes. Now, what's this next change going to be? And it's,
who knows?
Again, it's still touching tech.
Yeah. It ruined my skill set. I mean, I'll be honest with you. One of the things that I was really good at, and still am, because ChatGPT hasn't completely washed this up yet, but it's looking things up and finding answers and using the internet to do that, right? Like, if you're a good tech guy, you're good at that. ChatGPT does it all for you. Right? Like I don't have to search Wikipedia or Google or pull down 10 different documents and be really good at finding that piece of information that helps me. It just not only did all that, but it wrote it for me too.
You know what it can't do though?
What?
It cannot drink Diet Mountain Dew like we can. So
we're
good there.
But you might be onto that. Like if you think about where the next phase is, it becomes more of us, as leaders, as, coaches of our teams, what does that make them do? Project managers, like that I read an article last weekend from one of the guys that's on Shark Tank, and that's what he was talking about was project management skills and how important that's going to be to the next phase of
pivotal
managers.
To us here. Yeah. I'll tell you. Yeah.
But, right. Holding people accountable and setting deadlines and, the whole process of project management. But if you think about ChatGPT can't lead organizations.
It is true.
It can't do those things, but you're going to have somebody that's going to be working with those functions and finding the good people and being able to do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Well, before we wrap it up, anything else? Any other kind words, Jimmy?
These fish.
Do you have any left?
I think I've used them all up. I'm not really sure I had a whole lot, but no, I really appreciate it. It was cool. I had a fun time.
Great. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. Brent, it was even nice having you on.
You knew I talk a lot, so you knew that was coming.
I knew it. My goal at the beginning of this was an 8-episode season and trying to get our entire CatchMark tech team involved, which did not include Brent. He was a little heartbroken at first, so I figured, you know what, we'll get him in here, get him on an episode.
Funny story. In 3 days, I've been on 4 podcasts now. 2 days since yesterday.
Jeez. We're not going to make any money. Jimmy, you need any tech work done? We're going to talk about some projects.
It's a lot of talking. I just want to say hi to Jeff's mom, his wife, because they're the only ones listening probably to this.
He's been waiting for it. He's been waiting for it.
First of all, my mom, I could see listening. My wife, she listens to enough tech talk at home. The last thing she wants to do, if she's tuning in, she don't want to hear from Brent, but it's probably to hear you, Jimmy. I'll be honest. So
yeah. All 7 listeners. I'm super excited.
This guy.
No, it's
good. You got a video with 3,000 views?
Yeah, I think so.
I think was it you driving around my yard in the golf cart? Because you didn't.
No, but I definitely need to record that. I might live stream that.
That was pretty funny, but I think I appreciate the fact that you guys are trying to get out and find creative ways to share the message, because I think businesses do, and it's hard for small businesses to get their head out of the mud and look up to see where things are going sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think you have to keep.
I mean, to be honest, this is as much about spreading the word of tech and just the importance as it is about spreading the word of CatchMark, right? Yeah. Like, we're not going to be the only tech company around ever. You need multiple options, but We just want to spread the word that tech is important and get people thinking about some different things that maybe they haven't. And if they want to work with us, that's great. We're here. So
yeah. Help people solve problems, right, Jeff?
yes, sir. All right. Well, thanks again, Jimmy, Brent. Appreciate it. Everybody that's watching, thanks for tuning into this episode of All About Technology. I'm Jeff Burel, and we'll talk to you next time.
Like and subscribe.